The Brew House was created to capture and share with you the long history of the Genesee Brewery. But the brewery itself isn't half as interesting as the beer and the people who make it. Visit GeneseeBrewHouse.com. Hi everyone, and welcome to the Press Box, presented by the Genesee Brew House. We are on location at the mighty Genesee Brew House. Thanks for joining us. I'm Bill Pucko. Pleasure to be rejoined. Just a couple weeks ago, we had Kevin Oklobzija on. He is back. Thank you, man. Mike Catalana, 13 WHAM News, co-hosting along with Pat Duffy from WCMF in the Breakroom. We kind of struggled with the idea of how to identify you. I prefer free agent journalist among America's fastest growing demographics.
Wow.
Given that, I mean, and everybody knows it.
What did the title say? Kevin Oklobzija unemployed?
Actually, at this point, I don't know exactly what they'll say. But look, you're universally respected in the market. Totally, you were the beat writer for the Amerks and the Red Wings, the two most important local sports teams in Rochester. What does all this say about where sports coverage is headed?
I'm not sure anyone knows. I mean, that's kind of the problem. There's newspapers, whatever the entity is called now. I mean, the print part is fading away faster than anyone thought it would. The digital presence is growing, but until they find a way to really maximize revenue there, it's going to be a struggle. So they've been fighting the idea, well, we can't write game stories because everybody already knows what happened by the time the print product comes out, which is probably true. Now, do people want to know which part of the audience wants to know what happened in the Amerks game or a Red Wings game? Or do they just want to know about a person or a player or a trend? It's ideas they're struggling with, and I'm not sure what the answer is.
Do they think they have the answer? I mean, by letting you go, they must think something.
They think that might not be the strongest part of their readership, perhaps. So it's tough decisions. I mean, you know, they're a publicly traded company. And when corporate says we need to make cutbacks, then I'd hate to be the person in that spot. I mean, I would hate to have to decide who goes, what to do, what we cut back on in coverage. And, you know, I'm not sure, we may not know if they have the answer for 2 or 3 years to see how solvent and how strong they are.
Where are we headed, Mike?
Well, here's one part of it. I don't think management in media really knows, in a sense, of where they're going in the next step. It's easy in a certain way, or simple, not easy, but simple to make a cut and say, well, people know all that. It's like I've had management people tell me, well, you know, the thing about sports is, you know, people can find that on ESPN, right? We hear that all the time. To me, it's the dumbest thing ever said in the media. Because if you're a Bills fan, or a Sabres fan, or an Amerks fan, or a Red Wings fan, you're not on ESPN. No one is there. No one is talking about it. So what happens in our business a lot is the knee-jerk reaction is, well, nobody cares, or everybody knows about the game. So why should Kevin cover it, or why should there be information? But they don't know what the next step is. Now, do you have to evolve? Kevin's evolved. Everybody evolves. Sal's evolved, and when he writes his stories on the Bills, it used to be, this happened in the third quarter, then this play, then that play. Now it's more opinion, perspective from someone who knows it.
What it meant, and looking ahead to what it will mean next week.
But
yes.
That's exactly what it is. It doesn't make any sense, and I'll never say nice things to you to your face again, Kevin, so don't ask me to. But, like, I mean, someone like Kevin who has the wealth of knowledge that he does, I mean, I'd much rather Mike have been fired, but Kevin, but I'm not going to be able to find information on an Amerks hockey game because you guys were the only ones that were covering it. And the way that you put the stories together with description of the games, into quotes, looking forward to the next game. Same with the Red Wings. Where am I going now for my Amerks coverage? Because it's not going to be the Democrat Chronicle. Same with the Red Wings. They're on TV so little. Right? There's so few people that are at every single game. Now it's either buy a ticket or not know what's going on. And for me, it's not know what's going on.
And when he says that, when Pat says about where you're going to go, you know where they think you're going to go? And this is no disrespect to the people that work, but they think you're going to go to the team. Well, you better have a source that writes or works for the team that's going to at least be somewhat objective. Because we know what we get sometimes out of teams. And this is from someone who has worked for teams. I work for the Bills in the preseason and do the post-game show. The good news is they've never, to this point, ever told me what I can and can't say. But I'm probably more free with my opinion, certainly on Channel 13, than I am with the Bills. If you got all your Bills information from the Bills, from the team, I don't think it's going to give you what you want. But there's people who think, well, I'll just read the Amerks website or just read the Red Wings website. And unless you have someone there that really knows, I think they're going to struggle.
I think among all the industries, the business model for journalism has been most completely torn down by the internet than any other thing that I can think of. I mean, it's just changed
Here's the thing
everything.
that it's to me is still, I'm not quite sure what's right and what's wrong, but it seems goofy to me. Newspapers throughout the country want to have moved away from game coverage, and they want to do the profiles, the personality story, the good story about someone's life, which they are really good stories, and there's a lot of them there. But why would the reader care about that and not the game? If you're telling them the games don't matter, well, why do I care about the people who are playing them?
Agreed. My wife's not going to read that article. She doesn't care, right?
Because she has to care about the team
Yes.
first, to care about it. And by the way, one last point, and I pontificate about this all the time. Media, we're not the only industry that's had massive changes and has to adjust. Food industry, banking industry, all these places have to adjust, and some of them adjust, evolve, and do well, and other ones go away. And in the media right now, it is shaky depending on the organization.
This is the Rochester Press Box on location at the Genesee Brew House. We talk Buffalo Bills next. The Press Box, brought to you in part by Connors and Ferris, your workers' comp attorneys. Call 262-COMP, C-O-M-P, today. The Buffalo Bills Quote of the Week was brought to you by the Rochester Geico Office. Give the Rochester Geico team a chance to see how much you could save on all your insurance needs. Call or stop by the office on West Henrietta Road, open Monday through Saturday. Geico Rochester Quote of the Week, bringing in Percy Harvin.
Well, I agree with the move in this sense. You are a little desperate. He not joked. He said, well, are we desperate? I don't think so. We'll try to help ourselves. What are you going to do? It's November. The trade deadline is a tough thing. I hate to see a team give up draft picks unless it was for a special player, and even that is difficult to do in midseason. Normally, you're waiver wire and are bringing a guy from the practice squad. If Percy Harvin can give him anything, you would hope he's healthy now. He hasn't played a lot. I kind of like the move for a limited cost, a little bit of money, no draft picks. I like the move.
This portion of the Rochester Press Box brought to you by Connors and Ferris. Time to pick the Buffalo Bills. Pat Duffy will pick the Bills. You're giving 6.5, or you're getting 6.5. Why are you doing it?
Because they need it. It's desperation time. And I can't believe the line is that wide, east going west, against a team that has 2 losses and a tie and has not had a, what's the word I'm looking for? Big team rallying victory. Like every game the Seahawks have won this season has been, they've squeaked it out.
Yeah.
These Seahawks are not your mother's Seahawks. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Like I think the Bills can do this. I think Percy Harvin, it's a revenge game for Percy Harvin if he plays on Monday. Bills, they need it. If they don't get it, flush it. It's done.
You got, again, Bills getting 6.5 at Seattle.
Well, my mother's Seahawks, Jim Zorn is the quarterback. Steve Largen's the wide receiver. I don't like the Bills in this game. Of course, I'm the one who said they'd blow out Miami at Miami, and they were on their way. They were on their way in the third quarter, and then everything fell apart. Seattle should have won at Atlanta. The officials did their best to take it away from some just brutal calls, and I think Seattle on a Monday night on the big stage where they love to be, they win.
Mike?
If this was a 1 or 4 o'clock game, 1 o'clock their game, I would pick the Bills to win the game outright. Because I'm with Pat on the desperation part, and I don't love the Seattle team, especially don't like their offense. Russell Wilson is playing hurt. Their offensive line is a mess. But that big stage, they do need a signature game. They need to step up. I think because of the way they're built, they love the limelight. They love it. They feed off of it. I think that's going to make it difficult for the Bills.
Because it's Monday night.
Because it's Monday night. I think you can catch teams in a regular setting and then being down. I think Seattle needs this kind of game coming off a bad loss with New Orleans, and I think the Monday night thing helps them a lot this week.
Here's the fact to throw in your friend's face when they say the Bills don't have a chance. Last time the Bills lost 2 straight games this season, they won 4 straight after beating a West Coast team that they weren't even supposed to touch That's why the
But they
Bills
were
win.
at home.
Doesn't matter. I don't want to hear it.
Coordinator.
Everyone stop talking. Everyone stop talking.
Which coordinator are they firing?
All right, I'm going to go with Buffalo. I like the points, and I kind of like the situation, despite the fact that it's Monday night.
Yeah.
I agree that it's a factor. Pick another game.
I'm going with my Brownies, riding the hot streak.
No!
Come on, buddy. They're playing Dallas. Dak Prescott is due to hit that rookie wall, 7.5 points. The Browns are not going to go 0-16. And the win that they get is going to be extremely surprising. I'm picking the Browns, you heard it here first, to win outright against the Dallas Cowboys this weekend.
I like it. What do you
Eagles
got?
showed what they can do against the Vikings. Put pressure on a quarterback and dominate with defense.
And you're getting points.
And I'm getting points against the Giants.
All right, Mike?
My least favorite coach in the NFL is Jeff Fisher. I don't like what he's done with the Rams, but they're a home underdog this week against Carolina, and I think it's a close game. I think the Rams usually play close games. I don't like Carolina's offense at all. I'm going to take the Rams and the points at home.
All right, I like the Detroit Lions getting 6.5 points at Minnesota. I think the Vikings have been exposed, and Detroit's really coming on. They might actually win that division. Here's a look at the standings for our NFL Picks contest, brought to you by Connors and Ferris. 4-game win streak has me on top. Winner of the contest has a donation made in their name to Hunter's Hope. This week, Greg Connors selecting for the Connors and Ferris team, who are 5-11. Greg likes the Bills to take down the Seahawks and picks the Cowboys to beat the Browns. This portion of the Rochester Press Box brought to you by Connors and Ferris. Like it or not, next. The Press Box Trivia Question brought to you by Sleep City. Queen adjustable bed with memory foam mattress, now $977. Save over $500. Shop Rochester's only locally owned mattress store. No pressure, no hassle sales experience. Here's a look at the Press Box Trivia answer brought to you by Sleep City. Queen adjustable bed with memory foam mattress. Now $977. You save over $500. Shop Rochester's only locally owned mattress store. No pressure, no hassle sales experience. See New York in a whole new way. Amtrak is offering a 15% discount for all travel inside New York State and to Montreal. Visit Amtrak.com for the See New York discount. Safe, comfortable, affordable, and easy. Amtrak. Enjoy the journey. Welcome back to the Genesee Brew House. We're on location for the Rochester Press Box. This portion brought to you by Amtrak Trains. Enjoy the journey. Like it or not, Pat Duffy, Cam Newton complaining that the NFL officials are not protecting him enough.
He's got a point. I mean, the guy's built like a truck, but it doesn't mean you can abuse him the way they've been abusing him. I mean, listen, Cam Newton's been to a Super Bowl. He's one of the faces of your league, right? This is what you want to be pushed forward so kids will watch the game. He's fun. Why would you not do everything you could to protect him? I mean, listen, run film of Ben Roethlisberger, who's a similarly built quarterback, and the calls he gets versus the call that Cam gets. I don't like the fact that Cam had to come out and say something about it. But
Again.
Something
It's not the first time.
But
Again,
yeah,
he's had to say something.
I get why people think it makes him look whiny, but if no one's going to do it on his behalf, his hand gets forced. I feel for the guy, I do.
But now I think the officials are almost like, let him complain again.
I think some of those
And the game in Denver, I thought that was the worst. The guy launched himself right into his head. Nothing called.
I think some of this dates back to last year when it's the whole celebration thing. Is that there are guys out there, right? Isn't it fair to kind of put your own mentality into this thing to say, if a guy was dancing in my face and I got a chance to drill him, I'm going to drill him?
That's why a player might hit him. That's not why the ref would make the call. The ref should make the call. This should be reviewable. With everything else they review, it should be reviewable during the game if there's a hit like that. I will say, other quarterbacks have taken hits too. And I think the simple answer to all this is it's Roger Goodell's fault.
Well, it has been for a long time.
Like everything else in the NFL, it's
Either
Rodgers'
blame
fault.
Roger or the NCAA. Mike, like it or not, the Patriots trade Jamie Collins. Maybe their best defender.
It's a typical Patriots move. It can be really smart in a sense of they've been acquiring linebackers, they get a draft pick, blah, 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 all that goes forward. But here's the problem for the Patriots. They are a Super Bowl team. We know that. They're going to probably be there, have a shot to be there. But Jamie Collins is one of their best players. If their linebackers fail in a big moment, in a big game, and it keeps them from getting there, is it worth that third-round draft pick? Because they do have a big margin of error. They have the best coach.
You know Belichick has an offensive guard who will just put a linebacker and the guy will be an all-pro.
But here's what I don't get about these Belichick moves like this. He can't draft. They miss on high picks all of the time. So why are you trading a guy you know can play?
That's
for
why he
some
took out a third rounder.
But I don't get it. Why?
He didn't. Now there, again, he's got all his minions out there too, and I think the guy is brilliant. But he's got all his throwing out the stuff. Oh, Jamie Collins did what he wanted. He ran around the field. He didn't do what the defense. All that's fine. He's one of their best players. Again, they're good enough to win. They'll probably be in the Super Bowl. But if it costs them, enjoy that third-round pick.
This is the little appreciated fact about the fact that the Patriots are, and everyone says, how can they be good every year? It's because they do this. They're always dealing off the top of the deck. Every year they trade one of their best players for the future, preferring to be relevant as opposed to being championship caliber.
They also don't want to pay the guy.
Yeah.
I mean, he wants
And that
big
factors in the
money,
salary
and they don't
cap.
want to pay him. And everything works when you still have number 12.
This portion of the Rochester Press Box brought to you by Amtrak Trains. Enjoy the journey. Unfinished Business is next. The Press Box Stat of the Week brought to you by Fiondoc and Fiondoc. Remember, if you've made the wrong choice, it's time to make the right choice. Fiondoc and Fiondoc, New York's DWI leader for over 35 years. Visit Celebrate the holidays with delicious Dunkin' coffee. Stop by Dunkin Donuts for 2 K-Cup boxes for $15.99 or 3 pounds of packaged coffee for just $19.99. America runs on Dunkin'. Welcome back to the Rochester Press Box, on location at the Genesee Brew House. This portion, Unfinished Business, brought to you by Dunkin Donuts. America runs on Dunkin'. Pat.
How do you fix the sport, right? That's the question that every league has faced, minus the NFL, over the last 30 years. With basketball in the late 70s and then again in the early 2000s. How do we fix the sport? And then along came Larry Bird and Magic Johnson, and then LeBron James and Carmelo Anthony and the rest of that group to make sure people watched. And the NBA is celebrating record numbers, things they haven't seen in years. And then Major League Baseball, how do we get people to watch again? And then this World Series that just finished up, 7 games of 2 teams that were phenomenal baseball teams that hadn't won in decades. And I think it's going to fix the sport moving forward. Hockey's got that same problem. And you have these young guys in Jack Eichel and Connor McDavid and Austin Matthews, and I can go on and on and on. There's nothing that leagues can do to fix rules to make people watch again. It takes catching lightning in a bottle. It takes Magic and Bird. It takes LeBron James. It takes the Cubs and Indians being great teams playing 7 games in the World Series. The NHL can do nothing to bring people back. The sport has to do it on its own. And if it doesn't, we may be looking the way that baseball is going to have its success next season after this season, the way that NBA is playing phenomenal, and I know the numbers are down for the NFL, but it's the NFL. It's going to be fun. If the NHL wants to make sure it stays in a top 4 sporting league in the United States, it better hope that these 3 kids, amongst the others, Eichel, McDavid, and Matthews, do something and do something soon, or we could see the end of my favorite sport.
Yeah, might be an isolated case, but the World Series game beat a pretty good Sunday night football game, the Cowboys and the Eagles, and it beat it big in the ratings. Kevin.
In 1985, I moved here from Minnesota to take a job at the Democrat Chronicle writing hockey. It's now 31 years later. I don't have that job anymore, and many, many people in our community and in this country have gone through it. But this is now home. I moved here in 85 thinking, I'll be here 2-3 years, move back to Minnesota. I cannot handle winter anymore, folks. I'm stuck here, and I like it, and I'm glad. Just wanted to say thanks for a long time of people reading and allowing me to enter their lives and provide some insight and hopefully some entertainment along the way while writing about the Red Wings and the Amherst and a lot of other sports. It's a great community. It's a great sports town. I don't think I'm going anywhere. At least I hope I'm not.
Well, you had a great run, and you obviously still have a platform because you're always welcome here.
All right.
Where'd you work again? Oh, wait a minute. Did you say you can't handle winter, so you're staying here?
I moved
You
here.
did say that.
And one of the first things I said in the first week I was here, I asked, how cold's it get here? So I went out and looked at everybody's car and looked at the grill. Nobody had a plug coming out of the grill. If you don't plug your car in, it doesn't get cold.
In Minnesota.
That's not winter.
Good stuff. All right. Sixers top draft pick Ben Simmons has a documentary on Showtime where he goes after the NCAA. He says the NCAA is, I'll say, messed up. He's a little more crude that way, but I think most people would agree with it. And Simmons' problem was, he's forced to go into college basketball, played at LSU, did not go to class, made a joke of the one and done. I'm with him on this. I think the one and done is one of the worst things in sports. It's an idiotic premise, and it's done to protect you, college basketball fans, and all the money in college hoops. He went on to the whole thing about why everybody gets paid but the players. I agree with him. The way to fix that, to me, let the players go right into the NBA or even the NFL right out of high school. Go ahead and try it if you want. And then if you make a commitment to college, it has to be a real commitment. You signed for that scholarship. It's a minimum of 2 years. I'd like to see 3. But I'd take 2. That would force the player to go to class. There's no reason Ben Simmons, in the case of LeBron James, he could do it, shouldn't be able to go pro right away at 18. You commit to college, you stay there for a while. The NCAA is a bunch of phonies. They're not quite up there with Goodell, but it's pretty close.
And as many as they were, Simmons made a real mockery of the whole thing, too.
He did. He didn't go to class and all, and people want to give him a hard time. Well, you made the rules. But if a guy had to stay 2 years, he'd be forced to go to class to stay active, certainly for that second year. Plus, he may actually enjoy it. This guy should have been able to go right to the NBA.
The baseball model. Well, that's our show. Kevin, thank you again for joining us.
My pleasure.
And again, you're welcome back here anytime. Mike Catalana, 13 WHAM News, and Pat Duffy, we're stuck with these two. And thank you for joining us at the Rochester Press Box here at the Genesee Brew House, and we'll see you again next week.